I have a speech that I wrote, and have been stressing about it because I realize it's a speech, and that's not what I do. What I actually do and have been doing for most of my adult life, and most of that has been cooking in my restaurants, I just tell stories. I narrate. I narrate constantly because there's stories behind everything, or there should be. I came into this speech, I don't even know what this is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be inspiring, I guess, but I'm about to expire. So I came in because what I wanted to talk about, I don't know how many people know me, but I've had my restaurants for a long time, 20 years, and I have all these different, shirt sayings and mantras, and also I didn't want to talk about that. I wanted to talk about what is inspiring me right now, which is this house guest that I have, Ricky. We call him Uncle Ricky now because he's like part of the family. And my daughter, who's 7.5, and in the last year and a half, what I thought I was doing was completely wrong. Most of my cooking career has not been about cooking. And that was my choice because I didn't really think it was about cooking. For me, I grew up in Southwest Houston in a cul-de-sac. The bayou was my backyard. We used to swim in there, snapping alligator turtles and water moccasins and like danger. We just had to stay out of our parents' hair. And this is the 70s. I didn't have a whole lot to hold on to. My parents were busy. My mother came from Kansas. Her mother was Czechoslovakian. Everybody's heard this story. It's so boring. That's why I can't even say this speech because it just sounds so stupid. My family, what I was trying to do, I went to go work with my grandmother when I was 16, 17 years old, supposedly to learn how to pass this on to my family. We were the city grandkids. The rest of my mom's sisters were in Kansas. They stayed in Kansas. There were lots of cousins. I thought my grandmother was going to die any second, She didn't, but, she seemed so old. So I went to go work with her, but what I realized after kind of all this stuff, I went there just to hear stories. I wanted to hear about my family. I wanted to know who I was, where I came from, what we're going to pass on food-wise, because this box that we would get on Pipestone Street in Southwest Houston seemed to be like the thing that was unique about us and what bound us together as a family. We waited for it. My mother's birthday was in October. She might get a little starter box then. 3 birthdays in December, my father, my sister, myself. So we would get, the huge box of kolaches and makivka and shishki, all these kind of poppy seed related things. Nobody knew how to make it, or nobody felt comfortable like taking over grandma's job, God forbid. So I went to go work with my grandmother. And I didn't get much, I didn't get much. I didn't get a lot of stories. It was hard. It was maybe one story. My mother would talk about her grandmother. I don't even know if it was her grandmother, but talk about her cutting scraps of dough that was left over from something else and putting a little butter on it and some sugar and passing it through the kitchen. I'm like, this is it? That's all I got. Really? Really? Now, when I was in high school, I actually hopped the fence from Memorial High School, went to McDonald's with a swimmer friend. I swam all my life, so my meals are left in the microwave oven at 9 o'clock, from 6 until about 16 or 17. So my friends asked me what I'm going to do after I graduate from high school and college, and I actually say, I'm going to come back to Houston and change the way Houston eats. I'm going to open a restaurant and change the way Houston eats. And she looked at me like, I had been struck by lightning. I felt that. I looked around at McDonald's and who knows what that means? I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what it meant for years. Literally, I have always been, through food, searching for who I am and what am I about and what am I supposed to do. And I, at this McDonald's, get this kind of struck by something, and I'm like, I'm going to come back to Houston and change the way Houston eats. But this speech was supposed to be, I'm inspired by my daughter, Lily, who's named after the entire Lily family, onions, garlic, ramps, all this stuff. Because I have been spending 7.5 years telling stories to her. She's a picky eater, and I tell her, everybody's watching. She's a picky eater, but she loves the stories, and she thrives on the stories. So Ricky comes to live with me for about 6 months, and I'm like trying to explain to Lily it's just for 6 months. And he comes home from his hateful consulting gig, kitchen job, he's a chef. He comes home and he wants to tell me a story from work, okay? Now, keep in mind, I haven't spent a lot of time at home, you know. I've just recently renovated my house, and so I have this home and trying to kind of be at home more. So Ricky's been there for about 2 or 3 months, and he's trying to tell me stories. He's trying to tell me stories. And Lily keeps interrupting, and she keeps interrupting. He's getting mad, and he's trying to teach her manners, and I'm like, Lily, you know, you're an only child, and it's not all about you, you know. And she just keeps on going, and finally she says, Ricky, it's like we're at a campfire, and you're telling the stories. You know, that's her perception the first week. Second week, again, interrupts. He gets mad, and she keeps on going and says, it's like you were hunting, and you went out, and you hunted for stories. He's telling food stories to Lily. You know, I always say that my career hasn't been a lot about cooking. It's been a lot about telling stories behind the food. This all started about a year and a half after Ike, and you know, we're out of power, we have nothing else to do, and we're trying to figure out how to really give people what they want, which is you're not going to cook at home. I don't think that. You're not going to cook at home. You're going to go to restaurants, you're going to keep going to fast foods. But there has to be, like, I read this thing, it was like it's the continuum, man's desire to tell stories. The campfire keeps changing. And I realize now, after surviving the restaurant business for almost 20 years, and literally every year it's a big survival thing, I realize I have to start cooking again, and I have to reinvent the campfire, the new campfire. That's what I'm trying to do now. We have this mantra, eat where your food lives. I think we should just be eating at a table. You know what I mean? But I've only just figured that out because my daughter thought all her food came in a to-go box, you know, for the first 4 or 5 years of her life. And my animals are very happy with that too. But we start to cook at home. We start to, and I always tell this story about a Green Plum guy that was helping me with my cooking classes on Saturday. And you know, after one class, he's like, Monica, this is a really good class, you know. I didn't know what he was really referring to about why the class was suddenly good. But he said, you know, when we do the work of cooking, you know, that's the time I can talk to my kids. He has 2 daughters. So, and they don't even realize I'm talking to them, you know. But he said the real blessing is sitting down to the table. And I only know this because I started to cook and started to get up there every Saturday and cook something or 2 things, try to blog about it and tell a story. And then Ricky shows up, and I realized this is what we all need. We need the new campfire. We need the new community. We need to have this culture buy into the new campfire, cooking, eating, being together at the table, and really sharing who we are and what we are, and connect all of ourselves to that. I think that's it. But thank you very much. Thank you.